Today is the day for the rapper who is accused of being involved in a shooting outside the university. When Lil Durk showed up in court, the judge decided there was sufficient evidence to put him on trial. Lori Wilson, the anchor for Channel 2, is live close to the varsity where the incident occurred. In this case, according to Lori police, they have video proof. Lil Durk is having a lot of problems. And it appears that there is no way out this time. The Chicago rapper, who formerly went by the moniker The Voice, is currently dealing with what could be the last phase of his career following years of legal disputes. A sentence of life. Durk, who was once a hip-hop rising star and a major contributor to the survival of drill music, appeared to have changed his ways, but it's possible that his upbringing in the streets drew him back into the scene permanently. We dissect the accusations, the supporting documentation, and the events leading up to this startling incident in this video. Is Lil Durk's career truly over? Let's begin. Lil Durk, whose true name is Durk Derek Banks, was arrested by federal officials in connection with the August 2022 shooting and attempted murder of rapper Quando Rondo. He is currently being imprisoned at Broward County Jail. The Chicago rapper now faces a possible life sentence in what can only be called a shocking demise. Durk was once viewed as someone who had managed to get away from the streets that had molded him. But now he faces the prospect of being imprisoned for the rest of his life. The charges against him are related to a murder-for-hire scheme that has shocked the hip-hop scene. A federal indictment issued by the U.S. District Attorney in Los Angeles identified Durk and 5 other members of his rap group Only the Family, according to court filings. According to the indictment, the group utilized a machine gun to commit the murder for hire, which also claimed a life, and they planned to carry out the murder. The specifics are bleak. Back in 2022, the men allegedly crossed state borders to target Quando Rondo's camp in Los Angeles. Rondo's cousin was killed in the shooting, which took place throughout the day. The attack, according to federal officials, was payback for the 2020 murder of King Von, Durk's close buddy and associate, outside an Atlanta hookah lounge. The case against Durk, according to authorities, has been developing for a while. As the investigation progressed, all evidence pointed to Lil Durk, the so-called Big Fish, and 5 people connected to F are currently in arrest for the shooting in Los Angeles. Federal investigators were able to make the connection without a tip. The purpose was obvious to them. This was retaliation for Van's passing, and given the growing body of evidence which included purported connections between Durk and the attack's planning, it was only a question of time until he was implicated as well. The Broward County Jail in Florida is where Lil Durk is being detained at the moment. His arrest became well known, and hip-hop pundit DJ Academics was among the first to report on it. As expected, Academics quickly disseminated the news by tweeting and sharing a video. Breaking: U.S. Marshals have detained Lil Durk and placed him in Broward County Correctional Facility until he is transferred to California for his federal accusation. A newly filed indictment revealed explosive allegations not only against Durk but against his entire crew, known as F, or Only the Family, OTF. The announcement sent shockwaves through the rap world, and suddenly the rumors of a federal case against Durk began to materialize. He is charged with murder for hire for the death of Quando Rondo's cousin, Lulu Pab. According to court documents, a person identified as co-conspirator, one allegedly placed a bounty on the heads of people the group wanted eliminated, including TB, a name federal agents say refers to Quando Rondo. Prosecutors now assert that F functions as a criminal organization and could face a potential RICO case. As the details surfaced, there was conjecture that Lil Durk was named as co-conspirator 3 in the documents, which goes further, alleging that several co-conspirators, including a defendant named Wilson, were either paid directly or promised rewards like music deals and industry connections in exchange for taking part in the hit. Financial records linked the account to Durk's former manager, and, according to reports, another card from the same account was issued to Lil Durk's own father. The charges suggested that someone used a credit card linked to F to purchase airline tickets for the co-conspirators to travel to California allegedly to carry out the murder. Prosecutors say the same credit card was also used to pay for hotel accommodations for the assailant. But what happened to the plan? The indictment claims that it didn't work out that way. Federal prosecutors claim that two suspects, Jones and Lindsay, and a third, co-conspirator too, fired on their intended target, referred to in court documents as TB, but instead of killing TB, the bullets hit and killed SR, a passenger in the car. According to the indictment, on August 18, 2022, one or more people, including co-conspirator 4, learned that TB was in Los Angeles staying at a hotel. For those who are familiar with the case, SR is commonly thought to be Lou Pabwando Rondo's cousin. Shortly after the attack on Rondo's camp, there were rumors that someone had leaked his location. And it turns out that those rumors may have been partially true. Before getting into conjecture, the official report presents a grim picture of what transpired next. Federal authorities said the group used two vehicles, one of which had no license plate, to follow and track their target across the city. That revelation raises a significant question. Who gave up the location? And perhaps more importantly, why? After they finally caught up to TB at a gas station, they allegedly opened fire, firing at least 18 rounds, and several of the bullets hit the car, killing Lupab. The group reportedly regrouped at a restaurant after the shooting, where they discussed paying for the hit. But then they made a crucial error. At dawn, they allegedly used the same credit card linked to finances, the one that investigators had already flagged, to buy plane tickets back to Chicago. However, that was not the end of the story. In a shocking turn of events, Lil Durk's much-anticipated trial for murder for hire was officially postponed from its original date of January 7, 2025 to October 2025. The defense and prosecution both agreed that the case was too complicated and unique to proceed as planned. They attributed the delay in large part to the overwhelming amount of evidence, which includes more than 230 gigabytes of digital files and more than 20,000 pages of documents, including surveillance photos, medical records, witness statements, and reports of violent crimes and autopsies. As fans followed Durk's headlines, many couldn't help but think of King Von, whose death set off this legal chaos, who was already a familiar figure in the streets before he became one of Chicago's most captivating storytellers. The case's sheer size has made it one of the most talked about legal battles in recent hip-hop history. In addition to showcasing his lyrical prowess, his breakthrough mixtape cemented his relationship with Lil Durk, who is frequently referred to as his twin. Von did not enter the rap scene through conventional means. He began recording music only after escaping a murder charge in 2017, by which time his name was already well known and feared in Chicago's gang scene. As a teenager, Von was lured into gang life by the promise of respect, security, and street power. He was a member of the notorious Black Disciples gang and often made fun of STL, his greatest rival gang, whose members lived only a few blocks away from O'Block, the Black Disciples' stronghold. His name quickly became synonymous with violence and retaliation, and he quickly rose through the ranks, gaining a reputation for being both fearless and ruthless. One of the first incidents that shaped Van's reputation was the murder of a rival named King Doc, who was shot several times by a group of 4 men as he entered a convenience store on April 28, 2012. King Doc's murder was just the beginning. By mid-2012, King Von had become more outspoken, both online and on the streets of Chicago. In June of that year, he began using Twitter with a boldness that raised eyebrows. He had been hit and had stumbled into nearby weeds, where his body remained undiscovered for hours, until it was eventually discovered by his 16-year-old cousin, model McCamry. Apparently unconcerned by the legal ramifications, Van publicly tweeted about his gang activities, claiming to be drilling in the name of his deceased friend, Odd Perry. He even compared himself and his close friend Troy, another all-black shooter, to the cartoon duo Phineas and Ferb. Vaughn didn't hold back. On August 7, 2012, he tweeted, "Homicide is in the air, threatening opponents." boasting about shootings as though they were unimportant achievements and making terrifying allusions to his violent lifestyle. "It smells like a graveyard." The violence he hinted at materialized just hours later on the morning of August 8. Vaughn and Troy were supposed to be among a group of Oblak men who were out hunting enemies. Tyrell Joshua, popularly known as Dirty Ree, returned to town that evening, a senior member with ties to Grove City, Eberhart, and Street, Lawrence. Dirty Reed was slain by gunfire. Shortly before 3:30 a.m., he was discovered dead on the sidewalk of East 56th Street in Washington Park. These incidents contributed to Vaughn's reputation as a terrifying man. The rumors about him increased with each murder. He was no longer simply referred to as a gang member by people on the street. He was being referred to as a serial killer. The violence continued after that. Soon after, Mel 5 and Lil James passed away, each of which added to the growing mystique surrounding King Vaughn. His body count, whether actual or alleged, became part of his mystique, and his name came to represent vengeance and bloodshed. Death, however, was approaching Vaughn at the same speed as he was, rushing forward with the merciless vigor of someone who felt unstoppable. He was becoming well known as a rapper and a dangerous criminal. However, he was too irritable to notice the trap approaching. A large portion of the strain that will ultimately explode in death was caused by loyalties. Quando Rondo was associated with NBA YoungBoy, while Vaughn was closely associated with Lil Durk. It was already seething, that subtle animosity. Under the surface of the hip-hop industry, there had long been a simmering hostility between the camps of Lil Durk and NBA YoungBoy. Despite the fact that neither artist had publicly declared war, the rivalry was evident and started to affect others in their social groups. King Vaughn and his group went to Atlanta's well-known nightclub, Monaco Hookah Lounge, on the evening of November 6, 2020. Though fate had other ideas, it was intended to be just another night out. It so happened that Quando Rondo and his group were also present at the location. Although there was already tension in the air due to underlying hostility between the two sides, nobody could have anticipated how rapidly things would get out of hand. As the evening went on, King Vaughn and his group left the club. Later, surveillance cameras would record what transpired. Vaughn immediately approached Quando Rondo after spotting him. A frenzied fight broke out between the two groups after he delivered the opening blow. The altercation quickly got out of hand. Timothy Leaks, also known as Lil Tim, and a close friend of Quando Rondo, is accused of drawing a revolver during the yelling and punching. There were many rounds fired in the confusion. King Vaughn sustained multiple blows. The sound of gunfire reverberated across the night, scattering people. Van's team hurried him to a local hospital in an attempt to save his life, but the damage was too great. Shortly after his arrival, King Vaughn was declared dead despite the efforts of the medical professionals. At the scene, Timothy Leaks was taken into custody and accused with killing Van. Later, he was freed on a $100,000 bond, which startled many fans and infuriated Vaughn's supporters. Quando Rondo, who was there the entire time, later claimed he had nothing to do with the shooting. He stated in interviews that he had never had issues with Vaughn and didn't even know him personally. Quando claims that Lil Tim intervened to protect him during the unexpected altercation. Regarding it, Quando then stated that he would do whatever it took to keep me safe. Following the incident, there were accusations that Quando Rondo had attempted to take King Vaughn's chain. He flatly rejected it, accusing others of clout chasing, and called the charge absurd. On the other side of the tragedy, Quando Rondo and his team faced criticism from the public and the hip-hop community. "When it comes to jewelry, ma'am," he stated in one interview, "only people with bad intentions who clout chase even think about that. A $50,000, $60,000 chain, that's nothing." Quando was held accountable by many fans and artists for the altercation that resulted in King Vaughn's demise. The retaliation was severe and quick. Quando was targeted in the weeks after the shooting. Threats flooded in, his gigs were canceled, and his every action was being watched. But he refused to back down. Quando boldly defended his innocence and kept releasing songs in spite of the growing criticism. A particular incident sparked even more controversy. Quando gave a high-end watch to Timothy Lil Tim Leaks, his friend, and the man who was suspected of shooting King Von to death. While some regarded the gesture as a tone-deaf provocation, others saw it as a daring show of loyalty. Quando shared a picture of two expensive timepieces, one with blue accents and the other with black, on Instagram stories. He indicated that the second timepiece was for Lil Tim by tagging his account. It was an obvious message. The man who had fired was standing next to Quando. In the meantime, King Von's close buddy and frequent collaborator Lil Durk was first commended for not taking revenge after Van's passing. The article was brief, but many appreciated his choice to not exacerbate an already tense situation. The increasing likelihood of Von's dissent started to torment Durk, reverberating both in real life and on social media. Eventually, Durk made a move, whether it was due to fan pressure or something more intimate. His call for retribution started a series of events that rocked his world and ultimately caused everything he had worked so hard to build to fall apart. Everything that the powerful have built up is frequently taken with them when they fall. And 2024 was just that kind of year for Lil Durk. Honors were exchanged, and handcuffs were the eventual result. In a stunning turn of events, the same individual who had been hailed by local authorities was imprisoned before the year was up. For Durk, things couldn't have looked better at the beginning of 2024. Known as the voice of the trenches, he received recognition for his charitable endeavors through his Neighborhood Heroes Foundation in the vicinity of his homeland. The Grammy-winning rapper was recognized for leveraging his position to give back to the community by being granted honorary keys to many cities, including the villages of Bellwood and Broadview. However, the narrative took a nasty turn. Days after being honored, U.S. Marshals detained Durk in Florida on suspicion of conspiring to commit murder. The consequences were immediate. Just 1 week after being given the city's key, Broadview Mayor Katrina Thompson revoked it on October 18. His NGO was likewise severing its links with the village. The expectations for moral leadership are much higher in the big picture, according to Mayor Thompson, who noted that the legal system presumes innocence unless proven guilty. Once a sign of respect and confidence, the key had turned into a liability. The lesson was obvious. Living two lives indefinitely is not possible. Either you're a thug or a rapper. However, if you attempt to be both, the spotlight and the streets will inevitably clash. And the repercussions are rarely minor when they do. The FBI, which is renowned for taking decisive action without making noise, has been keeping an eye on things. While you're going about your life thinking you got away with it, the FBI is piecing together the facts that will serve as your undoing, said Akko Davis, Assistant Director of the FBI's Los Angeles Field Office. For Lil Durk, that downfall came in the form of a quiet takedown rather than a blaze of glory. One incident left his future unknown and his empire in ruins. One illustration of how gang life always has a price is what happened to Lil Durk. Reputation deteriorates. Allegiances break down. And you wind up in jail if you're lucky. The repercussions of not being like King Von may include a casket and a funeral. Few people thought that someone from within Lil Durk's own inner circle would betray him, leaving admirers to wonder, will the empire survive? Following his imprisonment. However, new claims, such as one from the Express Tribune, claim that's precisely what happened. For years, a veteran of Durk's group, known only as Jam, is accused of wearing a wire and surreptitiously providing federal agents with information. His goal was to directly link Lil Durk to an attempted assassination of rival rapper Quando Rondo, a scheme that culminated in Lulu Pab's murder. The industry was taken aback. According to reports, Jam was freed from prison in 2022 after serving 12 years for attempted murder. Shortly after, he was purportedly working undercover, documenting conversations, following movements, and gradually assembling the evidence that would eventually bring Lil Durk to justice. Say Cheese tweeted, "Lil Durk's snitch was a F member and he was exposed for wearing a wire, one of the first sites to report the story. FJ, Jam served a 12-year sentence before allegedly wearing a wire for several years. The response on the internet was a mixture of amazement, incredulity, and dark comedy. Others wondered how Jam could have gotten away with it for so long without anybody noticing. One commenter joked, "He was hiding the wire in that big-ass forehead." One commentator provided a plausible response. "Wires are no longer used by them. A tiny voice recorder is given to you. Simply put it in your pocket." Someone else added their voice. "These days, everything is essentially a wire. Your smartwatch, your automobile, and your phone. Movie wires are no longer necessary for rats. Informants have changed along with technology." Fans were more shocked by the history than by the betrayal itself. Rumor had it that Lil Durk held Jam down when he was imprisoned. According to reports, he provided for Jam's family, covered his legal bills, and saw to it that he was well. For more than 10 years, the loyalty seemed unbreakable. Then followed the unexpected turn of events. Wack 100 discussed the treachery in an interview with DJ Vlad, stating that he did it for 12 years. Left and kept it honest. Durk said there was no smut on his name, never ratted, gave him automobiles, gave him $50. Caught a weapons case, and then flipped. DJ Vlad went on to say that Jam was released from prison in 2022, the year Lupab was killed, after serving a sentence for attempted murder since 2010. Several reports claim that Jam started wearing a wire and recording conversations soon after his release in order to compile evidence that would eventually be presented to Lil Durk and his group. An old interview with Jam has come to light again, adding even more irony to the story now that Durk is under arrest and rumors of betrayal are reverberating through the streets. Jam discussed his relationship with Lil Durk and the encouragement he received while incarcerated in a 2023 interview with DJ Jerry. He thought back to Durk's early years before his notoriety, when he was simply another neighborhood kid performing at house parties. "Durk used to write rap songs for our events, I recall." According to Jam, that was before the fame and the money. "Even though he didn't have much himself, he made sure I was straight the entire time I was inside." It's the most painful type of betrayal and the kind of loyalty that people aspire to. "It's crazy," as one fan described it, "to have a boyhood friend betray you after you watched out for him and then have him wear the wire around you. The people closest to you are constantly affected. In actuality, opponents are not the ones who betray. When it comes from someone you used to call family, it only pierces this deeply." Lil Durk was once again denied bail in his well-known murder for hire case in June 2025, which means he will remain in jail until his trial in October. This time, Durk's legal team had crafted a more robust bail package, which included $4.5 million. Electronic monitoring, private protection, and 24-hour house confinement. The judge, however, was not persuaded. "The money on the table represents only a small portion of Lil Durk's total net worth," Judge Fitzgerald wrote in his ruling. He claimed that the risk of fleeing was just too great given everything that was at stake, including a mandatory life sentence. Durk's travel plans were also questioned by the judge. The timing was problematic, even though the defense claimed Durk had religious and economic motivations for visiting the Middle East. The court determined that Banks had attempted to escape after observing that he purchased tickets to Dubai soon after the co-defendants were taken into custody. His lawyer told Rolling Stone, "Although we are disappointed in the court's decision, we are still confident that the truth will be revealed when this case is tried in front of a jury." Judge Fitzgerald had indicated at a previous hearing that the defense was making progress with the higher bail amount, saying, "Durk Banks is innocent of these allegations and will be fully exonerated." But he went on to say that he would like to see even more, even including the rights to all of Durk's songs. Given that escaping would financially ruin his mother, wife, and kids, he proposed that Durk would only have enough at stake to make sure he stayed put. The stakes are extremely high as Lil Durk's trial in October draws near. The once celebrated rapper now faces the prospect of spending the rest of his life in prison after his bail was denied and a possible life sentence was threatened. What are your thoughts? Should Lil Durk have been allowed to defend himself from home, or was the judge correct to refuse bail? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe if you want to be informed of every development in this case and more startling tales like it. What comes next is something you won't want to miss.